All right, so get ready, because today we are going like headfirst deep diving into Ban.land.
Ooh, yeah.
We are going to be focusing specifically on, the experiences of a player named Amadeus Darius.
Right.
You guys know that I love this kind of stuff, like digging into internet history, and Ban.land is like the perfect example of that.
Oh, yeah. It's a gold mine.
It's a gold mine. This lawless Minecraft server.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a bunch of stuff on Ban.land already. Like we've explored the wiki and the chat logs.
Yeah, we've seen some other interviews, too.
We've looked at other interviews, but Amadeus Darius' story is pretty unique.
Yeah, this one is interesting because he was around for that entire lifespan of the server. Like, he saw it rise and fall.
He saw the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he did it all as a mostly vanilla player.
Yeah.
Now, hold on. I realize that some people who are listening to this deep dive might not have been following along with all of my videos.
Right.
So when I say vanilla, I mean that he played without like hacked clients or exploits.
Yeah, just relying on the core mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
Like the way it was intended to be played.
Can you imagine like trying to survive in that chaos without any special advantages?
That was crazy to think about.
I mean, it really highlights like the stark contrast between the different play styles that you would find on Ban.land.
For sure.
You've got players who are pushing the limits with, duping and hacked clients. And then you have Amadeus Darius over here.
Yeah, just sticking to the rules.
Sticking to the rules in this like Wild West.
Yeah, navigating that whole crazy world with just his wit and a pickaxe.
I mean, that's like choosing to walk across a field of Legos barefoot.
Haha, right.
Brave.
Right.
Maybe a little crazy.
A little bit of both.
And he was there for some of the most like defining moments in Ban.land history.
Oh, yeah.
Like the legendary destruction of Spawn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've all heard the stories about Supreme Tech, player who basically reshaped the server.
Oh, yeah. He's legendary.
It's like single-handedly reshaped the server.
And Amadeus Darius saw it firsthand.
He saw the whole thing.
Like, actually witnessed it.
Wow.
Yeah. He talks about, like, the sheer scale of it all, millions of blocks just wiped out to create this blank slate.
Jeez.
Supreme Tech wasn't just some agent of chaos. Right. They actually wanted to establish a new foundation for the server.
And this is what makes his plan for Bancoin like so intriguing.
Oh, yeah, totally.
A server-specific cryptocurrency.
Right in the middle of all this anarchy.
It suggests a desire for some type of order. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a player-driven economy in a world that was supposedly ruled by chaos.
It really makes you question, like, what motivates players in a place like that?
Totally.
Was Supreme Tech really just this force of destruction, or was he trying to actually build something?
Something new, yeah.
Yeah, something with its own unique set of rules and power dynamics.
And that's a question I think we are going to be like really unpacking today as we dive deeper.
Oh, for sure.
But let's not forget about the other key player in all of this. The one who's often shrouded in mystery.
Ban.land?
He's become this like almost mythical figure.
Right.
Like known for this totally hands-off approach.
Yeah. Amadeus Darius remembers him as just like this silent observer who like rarely ever intervened even when things got crazy.
So it really raises this question about like leadership.
Yeah.
Or the lack thereof, I should say, in online communities.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did WID's absence actually shape the culture of the server?
That's a good question.
Like, was it intentional to let players kind of make their own rules? Or was it just neglect?
Yeah, that's something to think about.
That's something we'll be getting into. But first, let's shift our focus back to Amadeus Darius and what it was like to be a vanilla player.
Right, because he was surrounded by all these other players who were using dupes, creating basically infinite resources.
So how did that impact his gameplay and his interactions with others?
Yeah.
This is what's so fascinating about his perspective.
Totally.
He provides a window into this like subculture within Ban.land. This group of players who chose to engage with the game like on its own terms.
Yeah.
Despite all of the, the temptations and the pressure around them.
Right. It's almost like a philosophical experiment.
Totally.
Like, can you maintain your principles even when you're surrounded by chaos?
Yeah. And as we go through Amadeus Darius's memories, we'll see how this choice like shaped his journey on Ban.land from, his early days as a newcomer to his attempts to establish a new settlement, even as the server was like dying.
Yeah.
So what stands out to you so far about his approach?
What
do you think were like the biggest challenges he faced?
Yeah. What do you guys think? Leave your thoughts in the comments because this is just the beginning.
This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
We're just scratching the surface here.
Exactly.
In the next part, we are going to dive even deeper into Amadeus Darius's story, like his experiences with duping his attempts to build community.
Right, and ultimately what his story reveals about, like, the heart of Ban.land.
Make sure to come back for more, because it gets even wilder from here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so welcome back to our deep dive into the memories of Amadeus Darius on Ban.land.
Yeah.
That legendary Minecraft server.
It really is.
You know, in the last part, we kind of set the stage. We talked about what it was like, this world of utter anarchy where anything goes.
Right.
And then within that, you had this player, Amadeus Darius, who chose to navigate all of the chaos.
Yeah.
Without using any hacks or exploits.
Without any of the shortcuts.
Yeah. So we left off talking about how he survived in an environment where everyone else was duping.
Right. Like, how did he even thrive there?
Yeah.
When everyone around him had essentially unlimited resources.
Yeah, because it's so easy to just, like, amass a ton of diamonds and enchantments.
Totally.
And just kind of break the game.
Yeah.
But he chose not to do that. And he actually gives a really interesting perspective on this.
Yeah, he talks about how, like, his group actually did use duping techniques.
Really?
But not for the reasons you might think. Like,
Right.
They weren't trying to break the game or anything. They were focused on duplicating materials so they could build faster.
So it's about efficiency.
Yeah, exactly.
Not like exploiting the game.
Right.
Interesting.
So even in this lawless server, there were still different interpretations of what anarchy actually meant.
It's so fascinating.
Right, like for some
Right.
people, it was all about exploiting every single loophole they could find.
Right.
But for others, like Amadeus Darius, it was about like setting your own personal challenges
Yeah.
within this chaotic framework.
It speaks to the complexity of, like, human behavior.
Totally.
Even in a virtual world.
It's like we create our own rules,
Yeah.
even when there aren't any.
We can't help it.
It's in our nature.
So do you think all of this duping that was going on, do you think that contributed to Ban.land's decline?
That's a tough one.
Or do you think it, like, fueled the creativity,
Yeah.
you know, and helped to create those crazy builds that we see in screenshots and videos?
I don't think Amadeus Darius really answers that question directly. But his experiences kind of show that duping was like a double-edged sword.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, on one hand, it let players do incredible things.
Yeah.
Like, they built these massive structures.
Huge. Yeah.
That would have been impossible without it.
Like those crazy map arts that covered, like, huge sections of the server.
Exactly.
Like, how did they even do that?
Duping.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it was like this display of power and artistry.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, duping also fueled a ton of griefing and destruction.
Of course.
I mean, imagine having an unlimited supply of TNT.
Oh my gosh.
Like, the potential for chaos is unimaginable.
It's crazy.
So it makes you think, like, does removing all the limitations actually diminish the experience? Like, does it make it less meaningful?
Oh, yeah.
If you can just achieve anything you want without any effort.
That's a good question.
It's something that game developers still struggle with today.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how do you balance freedom and constraint?
Right.
How do you make the game challenging but also accessible?
And Ban.land was like this real-world experiment in finding that balance.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got duping, reshaping the server players, finding their own ways to interpret anarchy. But what about, like, the human element of it all? You know, like the stories that make Ban.land more than just this digital wasteland.
Right.
Like, what were some of those moments?
Well, Amadeus Darius mentions this time when the server's population started to dwindle.
Okay.
And during this time, he tried to start a new settlement called Chicken Town.
Chicken Town.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
What made him want to do that?
Well, he doesn't go into a ton of detail about it.
Okay.
But it seems like it was just players wanting to connect with each other,
Yeah.
build something together.
Yeah, like a community.
Yeah.
It's like even in this lawless server, people still crave that sense of belonging.
Yeah, total.
It reminds me of those stories about players forming alliances
Right.
and negotiating treaties and creating little pockets of order within all the chaos.
Exactly. It goes against that image we have of Ban.land as this purely individualistic, destructive environment.
Yeah.
There was cooperation, there was diplomacy,
Yeah.
there was a real desire for something more than just endless griefing.
So do you think Witt's hands-off approach might have actually contributed to that?
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, like, did his absence force players to rely on each other more
Yeah.
and forge their own bonds and create their own, like, systems of governance?
Yeah. Did he intentionally create that vacuum?
Right.
Or was it just neglect?
That's something we'll have to keep thinking about.
Definitely.
But before we move on, I want to circle back to Amadeus Darius for a second.
Okay.
We've talked about his approach to the game, his experiences with duping his attempt to build Chicken Town.
Right.
But, like, what was his overall takeaway from his time on Ban.land?
Well, he describes it as an experience that really stuck with him.
Okay.
Like, it shaped his understanding of online communities and how complex they can be.
And he ends his interview with that message to Bobby Diesel.
Oh, yeah.
The player who griefed his second base.
I remember that.
It's funny, but it also shows how much these things actually mattered to people.
Yeah, like there were real emotions invested in this virtual world.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that behind every username and behind every pixelated avatar,
there's a real person with their own story.
So as we head into the final part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with a question.
Okay.
What do you think Amadeus Darius' story tells us about why these Anarchy servers are so appealing?
Yeah.
What keeps drawing players back to them even years after they shut down?
What do you guys think? Leave a comment and let us know. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into Ban.land. Looking back at the memories of Amadeus Darius.
Yeah, over these last couple parts, it's been really cool to see what it was like to be like a vanilla player in that world.
Like how he dealt with all the duping and trying to build a community.
Right, and even like his frustrations with some of the other players, you know?
Yeah.
Like that message to Bobby Diesel at the end of his interview.
Right.
It really showed how like invested people were.
Yeah.
Even though it's just a video game, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And it makes you think, like, what is it about these Anarchy servers that makes them so appealing?
Yeah.
Like, why do people keep coming back to them even years after they shut down?
That's a great question.
And Amadeus Darius kind of touches on this. He said that Ban.land had a really dedicated community.
Yeah.
But it was pretty niche. Like, it never really reached the same level of fame as, like, 2B2T.
Yeah.
And he thinks that with better management, it could have.
Really?
Yeah, he thinks that maybe if WID had been a bit more hands-on, you know, maybe it could have grown even bigger.
It's like a catch-22, though, isn't it?
It is.
Like, if there's too much control, then it's not really an Anarchy server anymore.
Right, it takes away that freedom.
Exactly.
But if there's too little oversight, then it just descends into chaos.
Right, and then only the most hardcore players can even handle it.
And then you've got the whole duping thing.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Like, it led to some incredible builds.
Sure.
But also made it super easy to grief people.
Yeah, and it kind of devalues the whole experience.
Right.
Like, if you can just get anything you want without any effort.
I honestly don't know if a revived Ban.land could even exist today.
Yeah.
Without duping, it's just taking over the whole thing.
Right.
Like, would players who are used to, like, modern Minecraft with all the updates and stuff, would they even be interested in that raw, unfiltered experience?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Is there even a place for a server like Ban.land in today's gaming landscape? I don't know. But what I do know is that Amadeus Darius's story and the stories of all those other Ban.land players, they prove that online communities are really powerful. Like, even in the midst of chaos, people found ways to connect and create.
And to leave their mark.
Yeah, they built these crazy structures.
They formed alliances.
They griefed each other relentlessly.
Yeah.
But through it all, they created this shared history.
Yeah.
That we're still talking about today.
It's fascinating.
And isn't that what we're all searching for?
What do you mean?
Like a place where we can belong, a place where we can, like, make our mark on the world.
Yeah, a story worth telling.
Yeah, and Ban.land might be gone.
Right.
But it's not forgotten.
Those memories are still out there.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe someday a new server will pop up.
Yeah.
That'll capture that same spirit.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
So thank you for joining us on this journey into Ban.land.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
We've explored the chaos, the community, the triumphs, the heartbreaks.
It's been quite a ride.
It has.
And we've learned a lot about what it means to be a player in a world where there are no rules.
Keep exploring, keep creating, and keep those torches lit.
And who knows what digital adventures are waiting for us in the future.